Well, let's get stuck right into it here. Sky News Washington correspondent, and I suspect an occasional ice cream lover herself, Annelise Nielsen, joins me. Annelise, it's been a busy week. But first, can we just talk a little bit more about Nancy Pelosi? The U.S. Speaker might be a bit dodgy, but she went to Taiwan, and I thought that was pretty courageous. What's been the reaction to her trip in the U.S.?
Well, this has been the funny thing. It's been very split down party lines, and it's mainly Republicans who've been saying that they're glad that she did it. We had Mike Gallagher, the Wisconsin congressman who's on the Armed Services Committee, saying that he would just have wished that she would have taken some Republicans with her and made it a bipartisan delegation. Roy Blunt from Missouri, he's never been a big fan of hers, and again, he was singing her praises along with the Senate Republican leadership. They, in a press conference, said, "We're really glad she's gone." This is the really interesting thing here. The only one really telling her not to go was President Joe Biden, and she ignored him. This has been a bad week for Joe Biden. It's at the same time Chuck Schumer and Joe Manchin have done their own deal, and now this has set the agenda. They're going to head into reconciliation on this, and it was all done without the president's knowledge. We have this whole discussion going about, is Joe Biden going to run again in 2024? Democrats are kind of averting their eyes and saying, oh, actually, someone else answer that question. And then at the same time, they're doing a lot of stuff without him. We're talking about him being a lame duck if he says he doesn't run. Sort of looks like it's already happening.
And just to stay on the China thing, it is interesting what you say about that Democrat-Republican split. And I noticed that New York Times columnist Tom Friedman, who has always been, the absolute mouthpiece of the Biden administration, the foreign policy press, called it a needless provocation. So doesn't Joe Biden not only look weak domestically when he's having Chuck Schumer and Joe Manchin cut side deals around spending bills and everything else you mentioned, but also when he is essentially saying China can dictate where an American legislator or really any American citizen can go and travel?
Yeah, and look, this has been a discussion. Fox News' Peter Doocy was asking at the White House press briefing, the only one, while everyone was talking about Brittany Griner, asking about why we're not hearing more from the president on Taiwan, on China, especially when you compare this to the invasion of Ukraine when they were very much on the front foot. One assumption we can probably make is that they were very on the front foot in sharing intelligence in the Ukraine situation as well, because it did seem to be such a fait accompli. So perhaps from their perspective, they're saying, look, we don't want to antagonise this any further, but they're also very depleted because of Ukraine. If there was some kind of conflict in Taiwan, much of the arsenal that the US had has gone to Ukraine. And so this is where they're not really in the best position, and especially after that disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, to start picking fights, especially in other areas of the world. So this is probably the White House just saying, oh, we actually don't even know what to do if this does come to pass. And they're not big on intersecting themselves around the world. They kind of had to be dragged into Ukraine as well. So, yeah, I would say that's very much the tone. It's been the Republicans saying we need to be on the front foot defending democracy in Taiwan, because if we let them fall, what's next? And that's especially important for Australia.
And we've got some pretty shocking testimony from the FBI director about the fallout from that fall of Afghanistan we'll be talking about a bit later in the show.